On a land where laughter and music no longer existed, there was an amusement park called Six Flags New Orleans. In the past, it was a place where thousands of people came to enjoy roller coasters and entertainment. But after Hurricane Katrina, it turned into a silent and frightening place. The giant roller coasters stopped running, buildings were destroyed, and grass covered the ground. One day, a young man named Dara, who loved exploring abandoned places, found a video on the internet about this park. In the video, there were strange sounds and a shadow that looked like a person standing behind a roller coaster. Dara felt that this was not something normal. That night, he decided to visit Six Flags New Orleans by himself. When he stood in front of the closed entrance gate, a cold wind blew and a voice whispered, "Do you dare to come in?" Dara froze, unable to breathe. And this was only the beginning. Dara slowly pushed open the entrance gate. The rusty metal creaked loudly, making his heart beat faster. Inside, the huge amusement park lay silent, as if it had no life left. The giant roller coasters stood in the fog, and a carousel near the entrance seemed to move slightly, as if something was there. Dara turned on his small flashlight and walked forward. With every step he took, he felt as if someone was following him from behind. Suddenly, he heard a faint sound of children laughing. But when he turned around, there was no one there. On an old wall, there were words written in faded letters. "Don't come here." Dara took a deep breath. He began to realize that this amusement park was no longer an ordinary place. Dara walked past the carousel and continued deeper into the park. The fog grew thicker and the cold wind became stronger. At the end of the path, he saw an old building with a sign that read "Control Room." The door was slightly open, as if someone had entered before him. Dara hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to go inside. Inside the room, there were old machines and control panels covered in dust. Suddenly, a small light on the control panel turned on. Dara was shocked. He began to hear the slow sound of machines starting to run. On an old screen, there were images from security cameras. In the footage, he saw himself standing inside the room. But what he was most frightened by was this. Behind him, on the screen, there was a figure standing silently and watching him. Dara quickly turned around, but there was no one behind him. His heart pounded wildly. He began to ask himself, was he really alone in this place? After seeing the strange figure on the screen, Dara could no longer stay in the control room. He ran outside, breathing heavily. Suddenly, a loud sound echoed across the park. The roller coaster was starting to move. Dara looked up at the giant metal tracks with no lights and no people, but one car was moving slowly, as if someone was riding inside it. The sound of metal grinding against metal made the atmosphere even more terrifying. The wind grew stronger and the fog thickened. Suddenly, one light in the park turned on, then a second light, a third. The abandoned amusement park began to come back to life. At the end of the path, Dara saw a small child standing near the carousel. The child looked at him and smiled strangely. Dara called out, "Hey, who are you?" But the child did not answer. Instead, he turned around and walked into the dark fog. Dara felt that he was getting closer to a terrible secret. Dara could not stop himself from following the small child.
He walked in the direction where the child disappeared, even though his heart was pounding. After passing old paths and broken food stalls, he saw a building with an old sign that read, "Staff Office." The door was slightly open. Inside, there were old desks and dusty documents scattered everywhere. Dara picked up a box of files. Inside, he found many old photographs. In one photo, he saw children laughing and playing in the park. But what shocked him was their faces looked strangely similar. In another photo, there was a roller coaster that had crashed while operating. Below the photo, there were words written, "Accident in 2004. 7 children disappeared." Dara could not believe his eyes. He began to realize that this amusement park was not only abandoned because of the hurricane, but because there was something people tried to hide. Suddenly, a child's voice whispered behind him, "You have seen our story now." Dara quickly turned around, and he saw the small child standing behind him. His eyes no longer looked like those of a normal human.
Dara froze as he stared into the child's eyes. The child's gaze was ghostly, unlike that of a normal human. He followed the child to a broken carousel. The lights on the carousel didn't turn on, yet it slowly moved, as if the children were riding it. Suddenly, he saw many children's figures, but none of them were alive. They began to play on the carousel silently, yet it felt as though they were trying to communicate something to Dara. A cold wind blew, and the carousel started spinning faster. Dara shivered, trying to maintain his courage. Suddenly, words appeared on a floating paper near the carousel. "You have come to see us, but you cannot leave." Dara's heart pounded. He realized that this was not just an abandoned amusement park. It was a place where stories and spirits intertwined. Immediately after the carousel started moving, Dara saw lights across the amusement park turning on, one by one. The roller coaster cars began moving on their own, as if someone unseen was operating them. Old music that hadn't played in years echoed through the air. Old food stalls and broken shops seemed to run again, but no humans were around. Dara shivered in fear, sensing that the park itself was reacting to his presence. The ghostly children on the carousel smiled strangely, and the old lights of the park changed colors rapidly, as if reflecting the children's emotions. Dara stood still and looked around, and he realized every part of the park seemed to cheer or interact with the ghostly children. He understood. This is not just an abandoned park. It's a place where stories come to life at night. His heart pounded, yet deep down he felt he could not leave. Dara stood, watching the amusement park come to life. The old carousel lights flickered red and blue. The roller coaster cars moved endlessly, and ghostly children played all around. Suddenly, Dara noticed one ghostly child following him. The child didn't smile, but its eyes glowed like buried fire. Dara shivered and started running, and other ghostly children began chasing him as well. The park, once silent, was now filled with the sounds of wind, animals, and even the footsteps of unseen spirits. Dara entered a dark path and came across a room marked with an old sign, "Haunted Hall." He realized he could not escape these ghostly children, and inside this haunted hall, all the truths and stories would be revealed. Dara stepped into the haunted hall. Lights flickered inside, casting sharp shadows across the walls. On the walls were old photos and documents revealing the park's dark past. They told of accidents and disasters even before Hurricane Katrina. The park wasn't just a place of amusement, but a hidden secret.
The children who died in the accidents never left. They had become ghostly figures haunting the park, and every night they wanted to reveal their truth. Dara's face went pale. He saw in the photographs one ghostly child staring at him and smiling. Suddenly, the child's voice echoed clearly. "Now you have seen our truth. You cannot leave." Dara tried to walk out of the haunted hall, but the entire park was moving, the roller coaster and carousel shifting, and the ghostly children's eyes followed him everywhere. Dara felt that he could not escape the amusement park, and tonight the ghostly story would fully unfold. Dara walked into the amusement park fully alive with motion, roller coaster and carousel moving, strange colored lights flickering, cold wind blowing sharply. The ghostly children who had been following him stood around, their eyes glowing unnaturally, without a single smile. Dara turned toward a carousel and saw one ghostly child standing in front of him, its eyes glowing strangely. Dara asked again, "What do you want from me?" The ghost child smiled silently, and a voice echoed, "You have seen the truth. You have become part of our story, but you cannot leave, and if you choose to stay, you must accept it." Dara slowly realized this abandoned park was not merely destroyed by the hurricane, but a place where stories and long-hidden secrets were preserved. He braced himself and decided to walk deeper into the park. The ghostly children followed him, but only to show him that here the truths would be revealed tonight. The abandoned park had no living humans, but the secrets and the ghostly children would continue to guard their story forever. The end ends, but the tale still lives on.